He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's out of here off the lights. You have to be kidding me. Fireworks. Here you go.
Welcome in, everybody. It is a Monday during the summer in the state of Iowa, and that means only one thing. We've got new rankings coming your way, trying to make your guys' Monday just a little bit better. And don't tell the other classes, but this is secretly Andrew and I's favorite class to break down every week. Don't tell anybody else, but it is. So let's get going. Class 3A, we've got, looks like 4 new teams, and we got movement in 13 of 15 spots. And we might just have a new number 1 this week in Class 3A. You guys are going to have to stick around and figure that out, though. Let's get going. 15 through 11 in Class 3. I played the intro. We'll just keep going. That never happened, guys. 15 through 11 in Class 3A. Hey, before we get going, though, we've got honorable mentions to discuss. Our 3A ranker always throws some honorable mentions out. So if you don't see your name on this list, pay attention. I'm about to read them off. I don't think this is in any order, but let's get going. Xavier, Knoxville, Benton, Mount Vernon, Boone, Waverly Shell Rock, Mount Pleasant, and Spencer. That's your honorable mention list for Class 3A Week 3. If I said your name, we're our rankers keeping an eye on you. Just outside looking in, you could say on the bubble, outside the bubble looking in. So 15 through 11 in Class 3A. Andrew, I've really liked following Creston. I think that's the team that's kind of sticking out to me. Had a good week last week, including a massive win over Harlan. I think that's really what got them notched in this top 15. Cale Turner, I think, pitched in that game and threw really, really well. Him and Parker Varner are creating a good 1-2 duo at the top of that rotation, and they're also leading the way a lot in the hitting department. Cale Turner leading the team in hits with Dylan Hopker and Sam Henry close behind. I'll pass it off to you, Andrew, though. Who kind of sticks out to you 15 through 11, Class 3A?
The team that I've really liked, and I'm glad that the ranker put in finally, is Sadell. And they are 8-1 on the year overall. They have come through and they've knocked on the door, and they've had some big wins. You know, you look at what they did this week. That included a big win, and I will say a big win over Boone. Just the third win over Boone since beyond the 2010 season. So it's been a while since they've had that win. A big win, 12-0 over Roland Story. That's tough. Of course, taking on a resurgent Perry team, won that one this week as well. But this is a lot of good things going on there, and we've already talked about a lot of these guys here. We've highlighted them preseason, and we're going to highlight again. Adam Mean, M-E-I-N. I always mix that one up, and Mean is kind of how I feel he is on the mound, honestly. 47 strikeouts on the year. You look at it, nobody has, I should say just one individual has a batting average against over 200. Mean right now, .095. He's only given up 2 earned runs, and that's with Brady Hicks. He's the freshman phenom, guys, that I am looking forward to. He is through 18 innings, 28 strikeouts. So he may not have the strikeout count as Mean, but man, if you compare inning to inning, yeah, right up there, right? So he's doing well. Jason Embry, who talked about offensively, he's a fun guy to watch. But the guy I think, and I'll mention here later down the road, so make sure to check out more content, Boyd Jones, transfer in, and he has been well accepted, and he has done great things. You know, he's one of 5 individuals to sport over 10 total bases. Fantastic. Love this team. They're going to go far. Glad they're in the rankings.
Yeah, Andrew, we don't necessarily root for certain teams by any means, but Sadell is just impossible to root against. They messaged us preseason, had us down there for a high and tight episode. That's them reaching out to us. That's not us going to
Yeah.
them. They reached out to us. So it's always fun seeing teams like that go out and succeed, especially when they weren't on the map preseason. And now here they are proving themselves. And like you said, Hicks and Mean are a pretty dangerous 1-2 duo. They got the walk-off win against Boone. I like to think that they only got the walk-off win because they were wearing the coolest uniforms in the state of Iowa.
Oh,
Those
I
blacks with
love
the pinstripes are extremely sharp. Absolutely love that. And congrats to Zadell. Rounding out this little group, though, center point Urbana hopping in the rankings, undefeated and still, without a loss yet. Lewis Central drops a few spots. Pella and Isaiah Kettler, third in batting average in Class 3A at 615. He's third in total bases as well at 28. He hops in there, and as I said, Creston at number 11. Getting into the top 10, though, where we have some movement, not a ton of movement, but some here. Assumption is a team that sticks out, split with 4A's Bettendorf and top 10 3A foe in Central DeWitt. Assumption is just hanging in there. They're performing well, splitting with some good teams at this point. Who kind of sticks out to you, Andrew, in this little subgroup here?
I like now. It's not a ton of games in the long run here, but Central DeWitt I still like, and they've had a little bit of an injury bug here. But it's I think overall they're going to come through that. It's a fun program overall. They did split with Assumption, and when I was there, broadcasting that game again, which you can catch the both of those games on our YouTube page. They can find a way to hit the ball, and they can find a way to be very balanced in the approach, and they make pitchers look a little silly. They can kind of live and die by the sword as well offensively, but you can tell the way that they ended last year was no fluke. The fact that they were 3A's leader in doubles last year, no fluke. This team really sported that in the game in the doubleheader against Assumption. Muscatine, they go up a class to battle a tough team there. So I do like overall where they're at. I think that the best is yet to come. And I mean, obviously any coach will say that, but they haven't played a ton in the grand scheme, nor have they played a ton of other teams that I think would test them as much. They did that this week. They'll get a chance to do in the coming weeks as well, but I think this is a team that's going to only be knocked off if other teams make a huge surge ahead of them.
Absolutely. Well, Harlan at number 7, they dropped 2 spots, which means we've got a top 5 spot open in Class 3A. Let's see who took that over this week, and it is Solen. Andrew, the team that you've talked a lot about. I know you're in love with Solen. They've got a big one coming up tomorrow against number question mark. I'm not going to reveal that right now. Number something.
No.
A top. I almost gave it away. I almost
Almost
gave it
did.
away. They've got a matchup Monday with a top 5 foe in Marion. Andrew, what have you liked about Solen so far? And what do you think the Class 3A rankers saw to put him at number 5?
Well, there's steady consistency, right? They've had steady progress. They're 6th in total bases right now, batting .310, and they've gone through a couple conference slated games right now, and that's they've kind of gone across class to take a lot of things, and one of the things that we are seeing yet again from them is they are as speedy on the bases. Nolan Segrin is going to be one of those. He's already an up-and-coming young star. Led this team in RBIs last year. He is going to. He's already continued to making big pushes and on the base pass as well. Brett White leading in several categories offensively, including I believe total bases and hits overall. He's been really striking the ball hot. Garrett Turner behind the plate is going to be another guy, and he is. I mean, Wartburg is getting an absolute steal out of him because he has some great intuition behind the plate. He's got a quick release, and that pop time could not be any. I mean, of course, it could improve, but it is fun. It is worthy of a college mark right now. So I think Solen has got this, and I got this. They're going to make their way quick. They've got the hitting, and the pitching just needs to come along with it. But in the end, they get their pitching coach back from 2 years ago, and I believe Cornell College. So they get their pitching coach, which has collegiate experience, back, helping them hurl the ball better than ever. So, they are 6th in ERA. So I think this team is starting to be complete. And that was one of the things that last year that they weren't. They weren't quite complete, and that's what did them in.
Absolutely. Well, if you guys remember from last week on this Monday, it was Wahlert Catholic in this 5 spot, and they find themselves slotting up to number 4. And Andrew, I remember you preseason all talking about how good their sophomore team was and how much fun their sophomore team was last year. And I'm looking at their bound. I see a lot of juniors that were, I'm guessing, on that sophomore team and performing at a high level,
Yeah,
and especially in their pitching staff. I mean, they blanked Xavier in a doubleheader, 5-0
yeah.
and 2-0. That's a good Xavier team. They go out and blank. I know I'm gonna probably butcher this name. Fodi Rigopuyos. I got to figure out how to pronounce that. We got to get someone commenting for us. But a lot of juniors contributing for them. Will Piero also on the mound. Parker Stutman, Brandon Cummer. The team ERA of 1.74 for the teams that Wahlert Catholic has played is extremely impressive at this point.
And I will say too, Bodie Nagelmaker, who I find is he was on the back end of the rotation, closing out some games. He's going to be a fun one to catch there. But yeah, what a sophomore class this was for last year, and they're truly making their mark here. Will Specht has lineage behind him, and he's saying, "Man, I'm gonna blaze my own path here." Already at 27 total bases here, and this is a Waller Catholic team that is not shying away from as a tough conference schedule. Beyond that as well. Yes, I'm not even gonna try the name Fodi. I'm just gonna say your first name, man. Uh, at this point. I don't want to butcher it too much. But again, you got two guys in the top 10 in terms of total bases. Alex Kerman is another guy that I'm really looking forward to, batting 421 at this point, and he hasn't really hit the stride as an extra base count that we've seen out of him. Again, senior helping to lead the team as well. But yeah, I like this. Coach Tischer's doing a fantastic job, and I think Wallard is at this point. I hope they're not surprising anybody at this point, but you know what? I think our ranker did a good job in seeing through what was coming up and not solely looking at what they lose, because there is a good balance, and I think that he struck a good tone there.
Absolutely. Well, here's where it gets interesting in Class 3A as I reveal number 3 this week, and it is Marion.
Ah,
Undefeated, undefeated. The Wolves dropping 2 spots. Andrew, obviously these are not our rankings. This is our Class 3A ranker. Our 3A ranker's been on the money, obviously. So, what do you think he saw to drop Marion to number 3, even though they're still perfect?
well, I think it's very similar to what the 2A ranker did in Underwood, right? And it's the volume was there overall. And as I look at my notes, I think that they had what 4 or 5 games. They took them all, and the thing is, I think it's more of what teams around them did. I'm not going to give away who the top 2 is by any means. I'm not going to pull that, but
Good marketing.
uh,
Good marketing, Andrew. You've been paying
there
attention.
you go. Hey, I try every once in a while. I try, but yeah, I think that's what he saw. And again, it's not for lack of effort or talent. They've outscored opponents 68-13 over the course of this week alone. And so, they've got a top 10 battle coming on up here. As we mentioned, Solen battling that here as they get the kickoff this week. And a lot of chance for them to bold up. But again, I think this is, spot on. Who you play, not just the volume of play of who you play, matters. And so I think that's where they kind of went with this. I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, but I think that's where they went.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, that opens 2 spots ahead of Marion. So giddy up, North Polk in the comments, jumping up 1 spot. They've got a busy week this week, a lot on the road at Gilbert, at Carlisle, at Norwalk, at Boone, Andrew. So that's a tough slate, but they've had tough slates in the past, just like last week, and they've impressed.
Yeah, what outscored in their 3 game slate? They've outscored teams 26-4, and they've come up clutch when they needed to. But the ERA is the team pitching, I should say, is just kind of their bread and butter right now. Offensively, they're putting up what they need to. They're putting up runs to win games. Not outworldly, but you rank second in the class in ERA, and of course, 71 strikeouts as a team through the 4th toughest schedule in 3A. Yes, yeah, I think you are well deserving of being a top 2 team for sure. And so I like them there. It's hard to say no to what North Folk is doing. So yeah, like you said, let's giddy up.
Absolutely. Well, that leaves just one team left for the number one spot, and it is the Bobcats of Western Dubuque. 3 losses on the season so far, all to 4A opponents. Andrew, you saw them pick up a huge win on Friday. I guess they split that doubleheader, but
Yeah.
beating Iowa City High is extremely impressive. You saw Brett Harris just absolutely shine. What'd you like with Western Dubuque getting to see them with your own 2 eyes?
Well, they found a way to win that game one. It was they had 2 hits entering the final inning. They managed to get another hit. They moved around the bases very well, and I will say, not a lot of errors made in the doubleheader overall. Both games, not a lot of errors. One Iowa City High error, and it helped to lead to Western Dubuque just clinching the win. And they did so again. They hung around. You look at any of these close games for Western Dubuque over the last year or two, they've hung around late, and then if they haven't won, they haven't lost by much, but they've really pushed across. So a lot of games for them. This is why it's really tough, because they will find a way to put runners on late, and you're only solidified to win until the 7th inning is done, right? Until you've had more runs than them. I think that they've again. I think it's the second toughest schedule in 3A, and I think let alone that schedule alone. I mean, you come out with a split decision against Kennedy and Iowa City High. I do think that moves you up, because you're not just playing 4A teams. You're playing top 10 teams. I'm not gonna put words in the 4A rankers' mouth here, but I can assume based off last week that we're going to have that you're battling against again top 10 foes in 4A. So you're going up a class and you're going up against the best, and that alone I feel can rank you up. But let alone I like them. And Brett Harris, I will say, love him behind the plate and with the bat, but he can make that ball dance. I was impressed by the off-speed stuff that he had to make Iowa City High hitters really off balance. It was fun. 6 strikeouts then, but I mean he went his full distance, 100 plus pitches, and he did everything he could to keep that game in close. And I he's the real deal. I think Ole Miss is getting, just like they did with his brother Calvin, the real deal guy.
So there you have it. The back-to-back reigning Class 3A champs find themselves at number one in our poll this week. Hey, we appreciate you for tuning in, Class 3A fans. Go check out the other rankings videos. Go check out the actual high and tight episode where we give more kind of our opinions, I should say, on things. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, Class 3A fans. We will catch you next Monday.